He's the greatest hero you've never heard of, unless you're a big nerd or watched some early 2000s cartoons or several live-action shows. On second thought, maybe Booster Gold is more mainstream than I thought, and you know what? That's a great thing. He's one of my absolute favorite DC characters, so I'm incredibly excited about the fact that he's getting his own series in the new DCU. Outside of Superman, that's the project I'm most looking forward to. It's genuinely crazy to me that he's going to be getting his own show. For over a year now, people have been speculating on who would play the time-traveling hero. From Gen V's Patrick Schwarzenegger to being threatened by Chris Pratt in the role, so many different names have been rumored, but now, finally we have our answer after Zolo Maridueña accidentally confirmed it, which is honestly the funniest way this could have happened, and very on brand for the character. It looks to be the surprise pick of Kumail Nanjiani, and honestly, I think he's gonna do great. But here's the thing, a lot of people are gonna take issue with this casting because Kumail isn't white. And if you're one of those people, let me explain to you why that doesn't matter. In my humble opinion, race only matters with a character when it is intrinsically tied to their identity. Black Panther is the obvious example that always gets thrown around. You could not make him white because he's the king of an African nation. On the other side of it though is someone like Steve Rogers, as him being a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes standing up to the Nazis is a testament to how good-natured he is. But for a character like Booster Gold, I don't think it matters at all. His background and characterization don't have anything to do with him being a white man. Once you look past skin color when casting actors that fit his character, there's a whole new world of talent to look at, and Kumail would no doubt do a great job in the role. All it takes is a little hair dye and a dream, and bam, you got yourself the perfect look for Booster as well. For the uneducated, let's go over his origin real quick. Make sure to take some notes, by the way, because there will be a quiz at the end of this video. Michael Carter is a gifted college football player in the year 2442. Unfortunately for him, though, he comes from a troubled home. Michael had to make bets and throw his own games just to get enough money to pay off his mother's hospital bills, which he did, but then he got arrested because of all that illegal gambling and lost out on his potential football career. Very fun stuff. What you need to know is that Michael is a total loser in the future. He's got nothing going for him, and because of that, he decides one day to steal a time machine from the museum he works at to travel to the past and make a name for himself as a hero. And surprisingly enough, it actually works. Even if he did say his name wrong at his introduction, Booster Gold was born and would go on to become one of the heroes of all time. Using his knowledge of the future, he's able to stop tragedies and take the credit for himself, along with bringing in a huge fortune. As you can now see, that's something that anyone could do, regardless of race or gender. As long as you get the core idea that Booster is a fame-obsessed con artist with a heart of gold right, that is all I care about. Characterization is key more than anything else when it comes to casting. You want an actor that can bring these characteristics to life. It doesn't matter who they are, as long as they're talented enough, they're a great fit. While there is no room for racism on this channel, you better believe we're about to get ageist, because that's where my main concern comes in with Kumail's casting. Traditionally, Booster is on the younger side, between 25 and 30 I'd say. Kumail is 46 years old, and looking great by the way, but that's significantly older than my ideal Booster. If you're just now introducing this character for a brand new universe, it feels like an odd choice to have him be older than most heroes in the world, especially when we're starting out with a young Superman. To me, it just would make sense to have Booster at least around the same age, right? Not a decade older. I also want this character to be around as long as possible, which is why I'd personally have gone for a younger actor to carry a franchise, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. If you make him older, you can make him more pathetic as he realizes he wasted his entire life away and uses his time travel as a second chance for a financial gain before accepting his purpose as a hero. It'll make his arc hit harder when he's already at rock bottom and has lived a full life as an arrogant nobody, desperate to make a difference. There's an interesting angle to take there that leans into his age and gives us a new take on the character for this adaptation. Perhaps he fits the vision for Gunn's universe as well. We'll have to wait and see there, but I definitely see the potential Kumail would bring to the character. Like a lot of people, Kumail wasn't my first choice. That was always the human capybara known as Glenn Powell. In my perfect world, he would be the best possible Booster Gold, but he honestly doesn't seem very interested in playing the character at this point. Truthfully, Kumail wasn't someone I'd ever even considered for the role, but that's not to say I don't think he would kill it. He's such a funny and charismatic actor, which is exactly what you want for a role like this. I always love an outside-the-box casting choice too. More often than not, they end up turning in a show-stealing performance because they have something unique to bring to the role. While someone like Glenn is obvious, a wild card like Kumail has my interest piqued because it's such a shocking choice that they must have done it for a reason. And looking through his past performances, I think I've put together the pieces that show what he can offer that other actors can't. The easiest comparison to look at is the only other superhero he's ever played, Kingo in Eternals. If you haven't seen Eternals, you should probably just turn this video off and go watch it because it's better than whatever I have to say. I am an Eternals truther for life. We will not be silenced. There are dozens dozens of us out there. When comparing the two characters side by side, Kingo is really a prototype for Booster Gold. They have a lot more in common than you'd expect on the surface. Kingo's entire character is that of someone who is obsessed with fame. After the Eternals all went their separate ways, he found his calling in the wild world of acting. Unlike some other members, he actually grew quite fond of humanity and wanted to use his everlasting life to entertain them. He soon settled down in India and began the greatest film run in Bollywood history. Whether it be acting, dancing, even a little directing, he did it all. To combat the issue of being immortal never aging, he went as far as faking his own family dynasty. Kingo would fake his own death and then return as his own descendant, continuing his legacy and making movies for generations to come. Honestly, it's an absolute power move and I have to respect the grind like that. This obsession with the spotlight is a huge aspect of Booster's character. It aligns scarily well between him and Kingo. Both of them are driven with the idea of being known by the public, courting fame in order to mean something in this cruel world. For Kingo, it was just to matter in a way that helped the world. With Booster, he feels unfulfilled in his current lifestyle and goes to the past to start over during the golden age of heroes to get a taste of that spotlight. They're both fueled by attention for two very different reasons, but it's that aspect of the character Kumail could tap into here. He did a fantastic job as Kingo, portraying someone who makes every single decision based on how it'll affect his image. If he can bring that energy over into playing Booster, I have no doubt in my mind that he'd immediately nail the core of the character. Even personality-wise, Kingo is a good blueprint for Booster. He's the comedic relief of the Eternals and someone that the others get sick of very easily. An egotistical and boisterous hero with more flaws than I could count, but at the end of the day, he still deeply cares about humanity. Booster needs to be this kind of loudmouth himbo prick, unafraid to sell out to the highest bidder, but will drop everything without hesitation to help someone in need. Also, real quick, to a lesser extent, Karun is basically like Skeets, right? Booster's little flying robot sidekick documenting his every detail. Then there's Karun over here, who's Kingo's personal valet turned into cameraman by his side at every moment as the two conspire together. They even have that witty back and forth banter, bickering like two close friends. Just look at the resemblance here. They're practically the same character, even identically. Okay, maybe I've lost the plot now, but what I'm trying to say is that there's so much Booster Gold in Kingo that makes Kumail an obvious choice after watching that performance. If you aren't sold though, there's another role that I think is even more convincing as to why he'd be a great choice. Do you remember how in 2022 there was an Obi-Wan Kenobi series? I feel like we don't talk about that enough. It just kind of came and went, but they straight up made a show about him. You can't deny that. Anyways, Kumail plays a small role in that series as a character named Haja, if that's how you even pronounce it. These Star Wars names are insane. To put it simply, Haja is a shameless con artist. He uses magnets and wires to trick helpless people into thinking he's a Jedi, banished on this planet and in hiding, now using his mastery of the Force to help them out. Of course, it's all for a really high price as he rips them off for his own financial gain. The thing is though, Haja isn't entirely a bad person. Yeah, he's given Logan Paul a run for his money when it comes to scamming innocent people, but he does genuinely help them get off world to safety. Just a little poorer than before. Through the course of the show, he grows into someone a little more selfless and willing to help out, using his underworld connections for good in Kenobi's cause. You can see where I'm going with this, right? The Booster Gold parallels are screaming at us. While he may have turned out a hero in the end, Booster didn't start out that way. His initial intentions were to con everyone in the past into thinking he's this noble hero, all for his own financial gain. Sure, people were being saved and he went out of their way to help them, but it was only ever to make him look good. He was a fraud cosplaying as a hero, using other heroes' tools to try and become the greatest to ever do it. But through working with other heroes and his time on the Justice League International, he's had positive influences helping him along his journey to becoming a fully fledged superhero. The similarities between Booster and Haja are blindingly obvious. Two characters who ultimately do make a positive difference, but only for their own benefit, using the hard work other people put in for their own advantage in an attempt to leech off of it and get some of that success for themselves, only to then get pulled into that world and have to learn how to do it for real. That sense of imposter syndrome should really be the main theme of this series. Booster Gold is a character who will never feel good enough because he never intended to be a hero, but was forced to make the most of his decisions and step up to help a world that needed him. But when there are heroes like Superman out there, how is Booster Gold going to compare? That sense of feeling inadequate compared to his peers and dealing with very real insecurities grounds him as a character and makes him relatable. It's such an important part of what makes Booster stand out and is one of my favorite things about him. Someone like Haja is a great jumping off point for Booster's characterization. It makes complete sense why James James Gunn would want to bring Kumail in as Booster. If you were to just merge Kingo and Haja, along with adding in some very important futuristic himbo energy, you'd have the perfect version of my man. Kumail is an incredibly capable actor who's shown before that he can pull this off, so I'm fully on board with the casting. It also helps a lot that he's coming from a background in comedy. With someone like Booster, it's important to have an actor who knows comedy first and foremost.
For the last time, I am not Green Lantern!
I've watched a decent amount of stand-up preparing for this video, and it's honestly really good. I could not recommend it more. His delivery is great, and it gives me a lot of faith that he'll be able to heavily lean into the comedy aspect of this character. And hey, if it all works out, can we please get a blue and gold show? Booster Gold and Blue Beetle have my absolute favorite dynamic in all of DC. I need to see them cause problems on purpose together in live action so badly. Don't tell anyone else this, but I would sacrifice each and every one of you just to get this show. You understand that, right? There is no length I would not go to get this series. We have an animated Blue Beetle show on the way, so I think it would be cool to introduce Kumail's Booster in there to tie up loose ends from the movie about Ted's disappearance, and then bam, we get the team up I've always dreamed of. James Gunn, please, if you can hear me, give me a blue and gold series and my life is yours. Until that happens, I'm just going to be excited that one of my favorite characters ever is going to be adapted in live action. Since discovering him in the Justice League cartoon as a kid, I've always wanted to see more of him. This series is finally going to be his big break into the mainstream. It's something I genuinely didn't think I'd ever get to see. I don't know if there's a superhero more perfectly made for TV than Booster Gold. He's such a fun character with a surprisingly deep emotional story of imposter syndrome, and I fully believe that Kumail has what it takes to bring that to life. He's proven it already that he knows how to play these kind of self-obsessed con artist characters, so I'm confident that he'd do Booster justice. Also, don't think I forgot that you still have to take this surprise pop quiz. Oh, you thought I forgot? Nah, I'm not letting you off that easily. Your question is, what year is Booster Gold from? First person to put it in the comments gets a crisp high five from me. Now you gotta go rewatch the video over to find out the answer. Thank you all for watching though. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. What do you think of this all but confirmed casting? I'm like a week or two late to making this video, so I'm sure you've already formed your opinion, and I'd love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. If you want to see another video like this, you can click right over here. If you don't do it, they're just going to cast Chris Pratt, and we can't let him take another iconic role. Mario and Garfield have already fallen. He cannot have Booster Gold as well.